So hello, this is a Purple Stripe 60 watt Mesa Boogie Mark III head, and it's a really cool amp, and I wanted to just kind of give a little demo of this. Most of the Marks have a graphic equalizer. This one doesn't have one, and it's the EQ is kind of an add-on. So you can get a 5-band graphic equalizer, but one of the things that's really cool about the Mark series is that Mesa actually designed them to be really effective across a broad range of playing styles and across the various channels without an EQ. And so I've spent the last couple of weeks just kind of working with this amp and studying it, kind of getting to know it a little better. And there's a lot of cool stuff to be said about it. So one of the things that is interesting about the Mark series is treble actually tends to add gain as well. So if you're going for a lead channel, you want to do something like really super like brutal heavy, you would basically take the volume on the left hand side of the knob amp and turn it way up and turn the treble up as well. The treble, bass, and mid controls are all in front of the preamp, and so basically you want the bass as really low, like between 0 and 2, because if you use high gain, basically what's going to happen is the bass is going to go through that and get amplified and get really, really woofy. So you keep that down, and then I kind of do what Kurt Cobain did and crank the mids. That's actually one thing that's really interesting is Kurt Cobain used a Mesa Studio preamp, which is the preamp out of the Mesa Mark II-C. So it's very closely related to this, and you can actually get a lot of really good Nirvana tones out of this if you're interested. And that's actually one of the things that's really cool about these amps is it's really surprising how many bands that have had like really iconic sounds used Mesa amps. Let's see, obviously Metallica, I just mentioned Nirvana. Prince had a couple of like Mark III and Mark II-C Coliseums, which are just huge, 180 watt amps. There's a lot of different tones you can get from these things, and they're great for it. So, anyways, what I was going to say is that the problem with the keeping the treble down, or the treble control being a gain control, is that it can dirty up your cleans. And then, so if you dial it back, you get a nice clean sound. It's actually on the bridge pickup. But you get a nice clean sound, but then you lose the high end. So on the back of the amp, there's a presence knob that you can use that will kind of give you a little more kind of towards the 6K end of the spectrum, but it doesn't add a lot of gain. So one of the things you can do to try and get a clean sound is to back off the treble. That'll keep it clean. That'll also lower the gain though. So what you do then is on the lead channel, you'll crank up the lead drive more than you normally would, and then to get the high end back in, you'll use the presence control. And with the bass low, another thing you can do is use the pull deep control. And one of the things I've found is whether it's clean, the crunch channel, or the lead channel, that adds a lot more oomph back into it. And I think one of the reasons that people have trouble dialing these amps in, especially when they have the EQ, is this head, as it stands, can be used for just a ton of stuff. Like I've played some really killer stuff with it, like the crunch channel. You can do Led Zeppelin. On the lead channel, I've done like a lot of 90s stuff, really, but Stone Temple Pilots, Filter, a bunch of stuff like that. Obviously, Lamb of God and that kind of thing you can do as well. And it sounds great. And it's the problem is that when you get an EQ and you have these other controls that are built into this already, you kind of want to pick one or the other or use them both in moderation. But I think what ends up happening is a lot of people will take these amplifiers and they'll do a real steep V on the 5-band EQ, and then they'll also be messing with the presence and the pull deep and that kind of thing. And I really think that like if you are going to use a high presence control value, then you want to keep the upper range sliders on the EQ low, because both together it just gets like crazy pointy, really piercing, kind of ice picky kind of stuff. So anyways, it's good. Like you can get a lot of great tones from this. Right now, I have this kind of set up so that it's good tones on all 3 channels. You can dial in way better tones if you need to. Like, you can get a really great clean sound, but you're going to have a slightly more tepid lead sound. Or you can have like a great lead sound and kind of have a bit of a dirty clean sound. So there's kind of a trade-off, and there's a happy medium. And one of the things I can say is, like, if you're in a live session or something like that with a full band, or like a gig or a rehearsal or something like that, I think that the kind of happy medium settings work great. Like, it's you lose so much in the mix as it is. I mean, and this amp will stand out really well, but I think that you kind of reach the point where you're splitting hairs between the best settings you can get on this thing for specific use in the studio, and kind of the tones you get when you're just using it all around, switching between clean, crunch, and lead when you're playing live. So anyways, it's a fun amp. I really recommend getting one. You can do a ton of stuff with it. I'm going to post some more videos about this, and hopefully have some other things to share. That's it. Thanks.